What's better than a peach cobbler? A shortcut peach cobbler. This cobbler comes together so quickly, and it's yummy, fruity, and bubbly with a chewy edge that you are going to love. Sally that girl in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally That Girl in the Kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make my shortcut peach cobbler. Yes, so I recently made a berry cobbler, which a lot of you really enjoyed. And I promised to also teach you how to make my peach cobbler. So if you watched my berry cobbler video, you'll know that in that video, I make a syrup to go with the fruit in the cobbler. But in this shortcut version, I'm going to be using canned peaches. Yes, it's going to be our secret. And the good thing is the peaches already come in syrup, so we don't even have to make our syrup. The syrup is just going to come right from the can, and it's going to make this version of cobbler even easier than the previous version and just as delicious. Of course, you could make this cobbler the way I make my berry cobbler, using fresh peaches and making your own syrup. So if you want to do that, I'm going to link the berry cobbler video to this one, because of course you can go with fresh fruit if you'd like. But this is a shortcut version. It's going to be super easy, and I promise you, super yummy. I don't know a single person that has tried this and not absolutely loved it. So I am super excited to teach you how to make it. So let's not wait another second, and let's get started. For today's recipe, you will need 1 cup of self-rising flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of whole milk, 2 15 1/4 ounce cans of sliced peaches and heavy syrup. You're going to want to reserve 3/4 of a cup of the syrup and then just drain off the rest. So measure that in a cup, and we'll be using it for our recipe. You'll also need 8 tablespoons of salted butter. I really prefer baking with salted butter, but if you prefer using unsalted and controlling the salt yourself, that's okay too. And finally, you'll need some Cool Whip or vanilla ice cream for serving. I'm going to be eating mine with Cool Whip because that's my favorite way to indulge in this shortcut peach cobbler. You will also need a medium-sized bowl, some dry measuring cups, some wet measuring cups, a serving fork and a serving spoon, a standard rectangular 13x9 Pyrex, and some oven mitts. And of course, if you're going to be serving your cobbler with some Cool Whip or some ice cream, make sure to pick up some of that. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees, making sure you have a rack placed in the center of your oven. Then in your medium bowl, you're going to measure out 1 cup of your self-rising flour, and then right on top of that, you're going to add 1 cup of sugar. Then I like to use my trusty fork. So it's just basically a serving fork that I just absolutely love to use for mixing. And then I just combine the 2 ingredients. So the self-rising flour does have a tendency to clump up a little bit. So I use the back side of my fork to break up any little clumps that I find as I combine it with my sugar, and then I just go around the bowl, just scraping the sides and just making sure to incorporate the 2 ingredients well. So once that is well incorporated, you're just going to set this bowl aside, and you're going to grab your canned peaches, and then we're going to be measuring out 3/4 of a cup of the syrup that comes in with our peaches. And you are looking for heavy syrup, and you want a total of 3/4 of a cup. So what you're going to do is you're just going to drain that can into your measuring cup until you get 3/4 of a cup. And then if you don't get enough from the first can, then you're just going to use the second can to add a little bit more until you reach the 3/4 of a cup measure. Then whatever syrup you have left, you can discard, but we are going to be using the peaches from both cans. Then you're going to measure out 1 cup of whole milk. And then what we're going to do is we're going to combine that syrup with our milk. And this is going to make a ooey gooey delicious cobbler base. So we're just going to mix those two well together. And we are almost ready to go. This is so easy. It's gonna go into the oven in no time. So now what I do is I unwrap a stick of butter and I place it in my Pyrex. I'm gonna grab my Pyrex and place it on a center rack in my oven and let it melt. It's gonna take about 8 minutes or so. And then when there are just a couple of minutes left on my timer, I'm gonna come over to my flour mixture and my syrup and milk mixture, and I'm going to combine the two. So I'm going to bring the wet and add it into the dry. And then for this, I like to use my spoon because once again, you're going to notice that that self-rising flour has a tendency to clump up. So what I do is I use my spoon to mix the ingredients together, and then as I go, I use the back of my spoon against the sides of my bowl to break up any of those little clumps of flour that form when combining the ingredients. So by using a spoon, you can definitely break up those little clumps and you'll be good to go. So now my 8-minute timer has gone off and I'm bringing out my melted butter. And this in and of itself is already smelling spectacular. I mean, what's better than the smell of melted butter? Yum, yum. So now this is ready to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my bowl where I made my beautiful batter for my cobbler. And I'm just going to add it right on top of my butter. We're not going to mix the two together. We're just going to add it right on top of that. And then we are going to come in with our peach slices. So I like to line my peaches up. I like to put them all facing in the same direction. And I just make about 3 lines with the peaches and then just add them one by one. But if you prefer to go more rustic and then just sprinkle them in, that's totally okay too. But I just love how it looks when I line them up this way. It just looks so beautiful. And of course we eat with our eyes first. So this looks gorgeous. So now we're going to put it in the oven on a center rack and we're going to set a timer for a full hour and allow it to bake. And it's going to get bubbly and crusty and it smells crazy, crazy good. So after an hour, we're going to bring it out and look at this gorgeous peach cobbler. It's bubbly and crusty and just so golden and just smells incredible. The butter and the fruit combined. Wow, this is going to be spectacular. And I'm telling you, you saw how easy it was to make. We can get away with doing this all year round because when we don't have fresh fruit available, this is a great option. Or anytime you want to make a shortcut dessert and you don't want to go through too much trouble, but you do want to make something homemade, we whipped this up in a matter of minutes and then we just popped it in and it became absolutely beautiful. The fruit caramelizes. It's just so gorgeous and of course so crazy good. The smell in my kitchen is over the top. So now I am approaching my favorite part, which is the sampling. Enough admiring. I'm going to serve myself a piece. And yes, I will admit, I love the corners because, you know, we get all of that chewy edge, but every piece in this Shortcut Peach Cobbler is absolutely delicious. And look at how beautiful and golden that edge has become. And that syrup and those peaches, they're practically falling apart. It's just so delicious and it smells so crazy good. So I don't want to leave even a touch behind. And let me show you close up. Look at how gorgeous this looks. The peaches are almost falling apart and look at that beautiful golden edge. It's got a little more chew to it.
It's absolutely crazy good. I cannot wait to get into it. But before I do, I'm going to bring over some Cool Whip because, as I said earlier, this is my favorite way to have this cobbler, really to have any cobbler. I just absolutely love Cool Whip. But of course, you can eat it alone. You can eat it with a little vanilla ice cream. You can eat this cold. You can eat this hot. You can eat it room temperature. You can eat it any which way. But no matter what, it's going to be super, super yummy because just look at that fruit just falling apart. It's just buttery and absolutely delicious. Of course, I'm losing every piece as I go, but let's take a bite. Wow, this is so crazy good. And that edge, I cannot wait to get a bite of that because that's really my favorite part, even though that peach that's breaking apart is really also a star. And of course, it got away from me. So let me grab it. There it is. And I'm trying to make just the perfect bite each time with a little bit of all of my favorite flavors. Amazing, super tasty. It's just so crazy good. And like I said, you can eat this by itself. You can eat it warm. You can eat it room temperature. You can eat it out of the fridge. You can eat it however you want, but you're going to want to eat it because it's super, super tasty. And that texture, that chewiness from the edge and that creaminess from the Cool Whip, those peaches, yum, yum, yum. This is such a delicious dessert. Crazy good and crazy easy. You're gonna love this one.
So how yummy and delicious does this Shortcut Peach Cobbler look? And how easy was it to make? It could not be more simple, but the results are just as bubbly and just as gooey as when we make the syrup ourselves and we use fresh fruit. And it was so much easier. Shh, nobody has to know. And it is just as tasty. It is an amazing dessert. You can whip this up at any time. Super impressive. And you saw how easy you could just take this over to a friend's house when invited to dinner with minimal effort. And it just really, really hits the spot. And of course, the way I love to serve it with some Cool Whip on top. Or you can go with some vanilla ice cream or just eat it as is. It's good room temperature, cold, warm. It is just good no matter how you serve it. Trust me. No, better yet, don't trust me. You're gonna have to try to make this recipe yourself. And of course, if you've enjoyed today's recipe, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thank you so much for liking my videos, for writing me a sweet comment, for sharing my videos with your friends. Thank you so much for doing that. And of course, thank you for reaching out. I love when you reach out to me. So if you're not already following me on social media, you can find me as Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest. And you can find me as Sally That Girl FL on Twitter, Snapchat, and on TikTok. And I love when you make my recipes and you send me a picture of what you've done. I love, love, love that you get inspired. So please share them with me. I love receiving them. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to Sally That Girl in the Kitchen here on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and to touch that little notification bell so that you get notified when I put up a new recipe video, which I do constantly. If you haven't already explored, please go over to my video tab or to the playlist tab. And underneath those tabs, you're going to find all of my videos there. And you are not going to believe just how many videos are up. All kinds of stuff. Breads, appetizers, desserts, main dishes, side dishes, everything you can think of. And if it's not already there, it's probably in the works because I'm constantly putting up new recipe videos for you. So be sure to check those out. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.